Sally, and I'm an art teacher and an art therapist. So, in my role, wherever I've worked over the years, people have always asked me, what's the difference between being an art teacher and an art therapist? And while there's a lot of similarity and crossover in the two disciplines, there's a lot of difference as well. So I wanted to make a video to help explain the differences and the similarities as I've come to understand them as somebody who's straddled both worlds over the past 30 years. So in a nutshell, art therapy is simply the marriage of psychology and art. And in a session, the art therapist would be working with either an individual or a small group of individuals. Together, they're working towards a goal that has been predetermined between the participant and the art therapist. And during the art therapy session, the art therapist helps the client or participant find meaning in the art making process as well as the art piece. I don't know if that's clarified anything, so I'm going to kind of drill down a little bit more on that. So here we go. Art therapy is the marriage of art and psychology. When put together, an art therapist can use those two disciplines to help somebody find purpose and meaning in their life and reach whatever goals they've established for themselves. So how does an art therapy session look as compared to an art class? Well, I'm pretty sure most of you know what an art class looks like or feels like, although it's probably been a long time for some of you since you've been in an art class. Hopefully you've been lucky enough to have the advantage of an arts-infused education, but that's a discussion for another time. So, obviously in an art class, the art teacher has some goals, curriculum goals, and standards that need to be met. And everybody's working towards achieving those standards and goals while acquiring new skills and insight. And that's kind of your typical art class. And everything gets graded and bulletin boards are made and displays, and everybody's having great pride in what they're doing. So in a typical art therapy session, there's a lot of difference. First of all, it's going to be either just one person with the art therapist or probably no more than 6 individuals in a small group. And there may or may not be a directive specifically stated for accomplishing a project. In most likelihood, it's not. And sometimes art therapy can be non-directive based, and it's simply exploring the art materials. And let's talk about the finished piece afterwards and what significant messages or symbols came up for you in the process. So usually the art therapist will sit down with you, establish your goals, and then as sessions proceed, when you come into a session, the first maybe 5-10 minutes are reviewing from the previous week, maybe talking about any homework that the art therapist may have assigned the client, and getting kind of a feeling for how they're doing at this particular moment. And then the majority of the art therapy session is going to be making the art, whether that be 2D or 3D, representational art, non-representational art, inspired by personal ideas or experiences, or the art simply might just be what comes out in the moment with no predetermined plan. But the majority of your art therapy session is going to be interacting with the art supplies, and don't expect your art therapist to talk with you very much during this process. We want you to be focused in the moment, making the artwork on the right side of your brain. So we'll give you instructions how to use the materials or answer any close-ended questions that you might have. But as a general rule, the art therapist is not going to speak, and we're going to observe the way you make the art, the way you interact with the art materials, and some other things while you're working. And then after the art making time, there's a time to reflect or talk about the finished piece. Now, that's assuming the piece is finished. A lot of times in art therapy, I've had clients continue on one piece for multiple sessions. It kind of depends on the media and what the goals are. And but whether the piece is finished or not, there's going to be time at the end of your session to talk about how was that experience for you, what were you thinking, what are some of your feelings that you had while you were doing this, and the art therapist will also share any observations that they made during the art making time. And another advantage to art therapy is oftentimes the artwork will be kept in a safe, confidential storage area and in a portfolio for the individual clients. And so unlike words, when you're going to talk therapy, it's easy to say, well, I never said that, or I don't remember saying that. But when you can go into a portfolio and pull out a piece of artwork that was made 2 months ago when you first started counseling, and now look at how far you've come. So the art piece actually functions as a marker in time, and it's a way that you can reflect on your progress that you've made in art therapy. And most art therapy pieces are not intended for display, and if they are going to be displayed, there have to be legal consent forms signed by the artist or their responsible parent or guardian. So that's kind of how the sessions differ. So I guess I wanted to just have a disclaimer here. So I have my undergrad degree in art education and my master's degree is in art therapy. And in my 30 years in the workforce, I have worked in schools to psychiatric hospitals to community mental health, outpatient, and with a variety of people as well. So there's no ideal art therapy client. You can be 4, you can be 104. So the age is not a limit. You don't have to be good at art to benefit from art therapy, as long as you're open to using the art as a mode of communication into your inner world. You're good. You don't have to be great at art. That is not the purpose. And I also wanted to have you take a look at this chart. So here's a chart that I put together after interviewing and getting feedback from art teachers and art therapists over the course of some time. I created a chart that I hope kind of simply outlines the differences and similarities between art therapy and art education. So I'm going to put the chart up here and let's just take a moment to look at it. So here's a chart that I put together that helps define and delineate art education and art therapy. I'll let you take a look at it, but in a nutshell, the left side is art education, the right side is art therapy. There's a dotted line down the center to indicate that sometimes there's crossover between the two fields. And then I have highlighted at the bottom in a box areas where both fields are overlapped. I'm not going to go through each bullet point, but as you can see, the art educator is very focused on academics, grading, working in educational settings, focusing on knowledge and skill acquisition, and getting artwork up on display, entered into contests, and the like, whereas the art therapist may also have some academic purposes. For example, if you're working with clients who are cognitively impaired, you might be helping them identify colors or numbers or something through the manipulation of art materials. But generally speaking, art therapy is going to be focused on a psychotherapeutic relationship between the art therapist and the client, and we're helping them reach goals that they have determined will help them reach personal insight and accomplish what they would like to accomplish in their lives. And most of the work that's done in art therapy, I'd say 99.9% of it, is going to be confidential between the client and the art therapist. And artwork is generally not displayed unless there were informed consent with a signature to display prior to the production of the art pieces. And then, as you can see down at the bottom, here's the areas where they overlap. Both art teachers and art therapists are trained as professional artists in a wide variety of art materials. Both service people of all ages. Both are interested in making cultural and historical connections for people between their art and the art of the past. And we're all interested in improving social skills, improving self-esteem, improving motor skills, and exploring media and different techniques. As you can see, there's many similarities and many differences as well between art education and art therapy, or an art teacher and an art therapist. For somebody like me who's been in both worlds, it's sometimes difficult differentiating or explaining the differences to people. And sometimes you get stuck in a dual relationship situation that can be challenging. So anyway, this is just the start of this conversation, and I hope I haven't offended any art teachers. That was not my plan. But I hope I have done honor to both art teachers and art therapists, two professions of people who are highly trained and highly qualified and totally in love with art and want to share their love with the people that they work with. If you have any other questions or you want to know more about this, you can either leave a comment down below. You can reach me at #HealthyTeacherTribe, which is a Facebook group, and I'm also on Instagram, and my handle is In the Art Room with Laura. I hope this has been helpful. Have a great day. Thanks for listening.